Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Traveling, as you guys noticed, back here in Jersey again. I was out to visit my mom in Naples, Florida, to surprise my mom for Mother's Day. So she was really happy about that, and she wanted me to stay an extra day, so I did, and just flew back this morning, May 17, 2023. Great to be with you guys tonight, which is a Wednesday evening. I hope you'll like, love, support the channel. Of course, comment below. But really, I do appreciate you guys coming back and making this a daily part of your day. Really do appreciate that. And whether you're watching this on the replays, 1 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m., 10 a.m., 10 p.m., 12 noon, 12 midnight, or whenever you choose to watch us, thank you so much for making this a part of your life. I really do appreciate that. And let's get into our master topic. You know how we do this every Saturday. We start with a new one, and we roll through the week, and we finish up on a Friday. Here's our master topic, everyone. We got a great one this week. How to tap into your creativity. Series 2, Show 20, Episode 5. Okay, so Series 2 means we're in our second year, and we're in our 20th show, and the fifth episode of that show. So let's get into talking about our imagination some more. So we said that imagination is very important. A lot of times when people think of something, they think of it in a very, how can I say, flat sense. They don't think about it with any dynamics. So, for example, if I have a business card here, which I'm going to get a couple of my business cards, and if we just look at them flat, right, there's not too much going on there. And but if we add some dimension to them, right? And we could say, gee, we could take the card in our mind and we could flip it, and we could flip it around, and we could flip it, and we could flip it into actually a box. A little hard to do here with one hand, but you kind of get the idea, right? So here's one, right? And if I did the same thing with this side, which I'm going to try to do here, it's a little fun to do because I'm doing it with one hand. So bear with me a minute here as I'm doing this. All right, so I think I've got it. And if you see how I can kind of get that together, I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of forming a box. So in our mind, when we think about things flat, that's not how the real world is. We have to think about things in the way the world is. And so a lot of times when people want to manifest something, they think about it as it is without any character, without any other attributes. So one of them is, giving things 3D dimension, right? Being able to rotate them and things like that. But another thing that's important is there's other senses that we forget about. So if we were to think about, this little thing that I built, and think about when it rolls, we could actually think about it making a sound. Or maybe if the car starts, right, you're going to hear that car engine. Or maybe you're on a corner and you hear the bus, jam on its brakes. Or perhaps you're at a ball game and you hear them all cheer. Or maybe it's the fanfare. Everybody gets up, and they do the wave, and you hear that song. So when we add these other attributes and we make them part of our life, it makes the story more believable. And thus, your subconscious is now more likely to believe it. So, really, what we're doing is we're creatively playing with our imagination. That's what we're doing. We're creatively playing with our imagination. And so, I want to tell you that your imagination is the key to unlocking the potential. Okay. It's the key to unlocking the potential. And so, if we think about that for just a moment, then I will tell you that it's probably interesting for you to perceive this, okay? For you to perceive what is going on. And so, if you perceive this, then I believe you might be able to start creating scenarios like the one I explained with the business cards and the fact that you can add sounds to a property, right? You can literally add sounds to a property. But many people think that things don't have sounds when they really do. When they don't have sound, but they really do. And so, what do you think matters the most to you when you're trying to relive something? What do you think it is? Well, one thing I'll probably tell you is it is going to be the fact that it has more life. Okay. And by it having more life, you're going to be able to do more. You're going to be able to realize it more. All right. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I can share with you is that whole piece. Okay? That you've got to give lifelike properties to your desires. That's right. I said lifelike properties. So by exploring lifelike properties, we're able to give them an extension. Instead of this card, like I said before, being flat, when we add an extension to it, right, it has the ability to extend and so forth. You get the idea. And if I add the other one, so when you do that, it gives you something else to realize that it's not just flat, because things that are flat don't seem to be remembered in our mind. Why? Everything in our world that we look at a first glimpse is flat until we look at the 3D dimension. If we look at a piece of paper, it's flat. Is everything in the world flat? No. But sometimes when we look at a shape, we will misjudge it and say, oh, gee, it's flat because we just got a quick glimpse of it. Does that make sense, everyone? Hopefully it does. So we talked about the fact that you can animate, okay, by adding sounds. You can, make it move and stuff like that. But I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about, let's say you're, I don't know, let's say that you're uh, getting off, let's say a bus, or let's say your car. And when you get off your car, you're in this parking lot. And as soon as you open the door, it's like you can sense that fresh homemade bread smell. I mean, it just drives you crazy. And you know what homemade bread smells like, and it is amazing. And so you walk into the store, and the first thing you want to do is get some breakfast, but you got to try this bread, because this bread is so sensational. The way that it's just like tantalizing your senses. And so if you were to remember the situation of you going to the store, okay, and you forgot to put in the smell, well, that would be like leaving out 90% of it. So we need to be cognizant of what's around us, and smell is a very important thing. Now, sometimes smell is not good, but a lot of times smell is good. Maybe you are somewhere and you're having dinner, okay, and maybe one of my favorite things is prosecco and champagne. So they bring you your prosecco flat or your prosecco drink or your champagne. And the first thing you always do when you have wine or prosecco or champagne, you always take the glass, and you kind of just like look at it, the body of it, you shake it a little bit, and then you put it by your nose and you smell it, and then you drink it. And what does that do? The smell helps to awaken your senses a little bit. And when that happens, it gets the palate ready. And I find that it even tastes better when we do this. Tell me that's not amazing. Of course it is. It's very amazing. And so what would it take for you to remember something like that? And I think what it would take is remembering the whole situation, because I know so many people that don't remember the whole situation. They just remember part of the situation. And that's not to fault someone. It's just that when we leave out those hidden details, all right, we are gypping our mind. We are gypping our mind of some really valuable data. And that valuable data, ladies and gentlemen, could be the difference of us seeing this as a true reality or something that maybe is not quite real. Now, you might say, John, how could it not be real? Well, the more senses that you involve, okay, the more your subconscious and your brain believes that it's actually a real thing and that it's not something that it's just made up. Now, I'm not saying you made up, but when you have those extra senses added in, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, wow. All right, so let's talk about another sense that's oftentimes forgotten, and that is to use our imagination and adding a feeling you remember. So, to add a feeling you remember, one of my favorites is the first time I went on a roller coaster at it was actually in Jackson, New Jersey, at Great Adventure, and what I noticed was, the whole anticipation of getting on this roller coaster. And the first thing we were going on was it was actually Batman. And Batman is a steel coaster, which was really cool. And I know I was spending like 20 or 30 minutes just analyzing it, being the engineer that I am, just trying to make sure that everything was safe. And then I got on it, and it was interesting because, you put your feet on the ground and you kind of just, you just stood back and you waited for the chair to hit you. And then you sat down, and then they put these bars over your head. And it was kind of surreal because as the roller coaster is going, most roller coasters, you're sitting in something, right? And your legs are like strapped in. No, this one, your legs are dangling all over the place. And they're in a little well there or whatever, but they're kind of like in this place, they're kind of like, they're kind of just hanging down. And that's just it's a very interesting feeling. And I remember one of my friends telling me that the most important thing to do when you ride this roller coaster is that you have to look at a screw. I was like, what do you mean look at a screw? It's like, look at a screw so you don't get sick. And I understand why now. Because if you're on the roller coaster and you're like, oh my gosh, look what's happening. Oh, look at this turns. No, don't do that. Just look straight ahead. You don't have to look at the screw, but I kept looking at that screw. And I noticed the screw was making a lot of turns and kept saying, oh, gee, I hope it doesn't come out. But it was just that screw was supposed to turn. And it was funny because, as you looked at that screw and as we went into like the corkscrew and then we went through it and came out, it was like the ride wasn't even that long. But as I just kept looking at the screw and I kept focusing, I didn't even know that we were going up in the air and then we were going upside down. It was crazy. Then after that, we went on another roller coaster called the Great American Scream Machine. Now, I bring this to your attention because when you think about a roller coaster, you can think about the roller coaster, you can think about the smell, you could think about maybe what you were wearing that day, who you were with, where you sat in the roller coaster. And then what I want you to do is feel what it was like as soon as they, put those bars down. It's like you got that a little bit of an anticipation in your heart and getting a little nervous. And then they turn it on, and then you heard that crickety, 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 crickety. It's getting, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into? And it's getting to the top, and it's getting ready to release. And so as that roller coaster gets to the very top, and it comes down, and it goes around, and then it goes through this loop, and then that's where they take this picture where you look horrible. And then the roller coaster ride is just about over. When you describe a situation, it could be a picnic, it could be a roller coaster, it could be an airplane ride. You've got to make sure that you incorporate sound, smell, and of course, you've got to remember the feeling. So if your body doesn't say, "Oh, geez, what was that like?" "Oh, gee, I felt," and just think about the feeling right now. If you don't remember it, it's like, "Oh my gosh, I was nervous." But it'll probably happen automatically. All right. So if the situation does not automatically connect you to your feeling, well, then remember, how were you feeling? oh, I was feeling nervous. And then you'll kind of take on that. But most times when you've had enough, let's call it, I'll call them data points. When you've added enough of these data points, which is, your sight, your smell, not so much taste, but in this situation, and then the feelings come with it. Now, taste comes with other things, like maybe you went to a restaurant, and at the end of the restaurant, you ordered this double banana split with chocolate chip mint ice cream in the center, butter pecan on the left, and let's say Rocky Road on the right. And you're getting the feel for that, right? And you see what it looks like. You know the colors, you're familiar with it. But I could describe it even more, like the texture of the chocolate chip mint, how it had the green, how it had the little chocolate flakes, and how my mouth was just salivating looking at this. And then you had the two bananas with banana split, had a little bit of whipped cream, and knowing what it was like when I picked up the cold spoon from the table. And once I did that, I then just, kind of to go to a spot that would be easy without causing too much of a mess. And I just kind of just dug in there a little bit gently. And then I took that spoon with a little bit of ice cream and a little bit of whipped cream and the banana, and I just put it right up to my mouth. I was like, wow. And the first thing I was like, I know I can't finish this whole thing. And so I didn't finish the whole thing. I had like half of it, and I took half of it home and then put it in the freezer. But I have to tell you that our emotions, our feelings, they're all derived by the senses. That's sight, hear, touch, taste, smell, and our proprioception, where our body's point, leg, arm, or joint is at a certain moment. Now, that one may not necessarily cause you something you remember, but what it does do is it will anchor you to a feeling that you've already had in that situation. So even though it doesn't seem like it's doing anything for you, it really is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It has been an amazing privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this fantastic Wednesday evening. I hope you'll like, love, support the channel. Definitely comment below. Tag your friends, colleagues, and associates. Share this out with everyone you know on social media. Go to my YouTube channel, John space C space MRLY space serial entrepreneur. Look for that key phrase, help keep our content free. Make the choice, ladies and gentlemen, to buy my team and I a cup of coffee, a bowl of fruit, or a savory dessert plate. Either way, we're going to be grateful for those pennies and dollars. We'll invest them into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, even facilities to give you the most jaw-dropping, motivational content to empower you to have the best life ever. All right, guys, have yourself a great rest of your night. And remember, when you want to recall something or you want to describe something to someone, you want to get them to feel it, add all the senses. Because when you do that, the feeling is going to be assumed. And if for whatever reason it isn't, that means you have not gotten graphical or you have not told the story in, let's call it, depictive words that were able to convey those feelings. Because our words will convey feelings if we use the right ones. Have yourself a great rest of your night, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Be well.